What's up, gaming heroes? It's great to see you. Today, I have the wonderful SemiCollin here with me, who is been gracious enough to accept my invite for an interview. He has a really unique way of making gold in World of Warcraft and is really awesome just to watch on his Twitch streams. Let's introduce him, the man, the myth, the legend, SemiCollin. How's it going, bro?
Good, man. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to do this interview and talk about gold making. It's like my favorite thing.
Damn straight. This is like my attempt at trying to break that fourth wall and give content creators an opportunity to be a bit more personal, get the audience to actually get to know them a bit more, because we're all World of Warcraft players. We like to play games, but getting to know people is really what it's all about, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's especially like with gold making too, right? Like that's what we're all about, and it's kind of like a solo thing, but creating a community around it is cool. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and you have a really, really good community as well, gotta say. Definitely check out
Thank
his
you.
socials in the description. So, before we get into it, just tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you like to be called? Is it SemiCollin? Is that what you like? Or Semi or Colin? What does he prefer?
It's funny that you asked that. At the beginning of every single one of my videos, I'm like, hey, what's up? My name's Colin, SemiCollin, Brez, whatever you want to call me. I don't care. And that's kind of like the what I go by. Which is whatever you want to call me. But I think Colin it would be fine. SemiCollin or Brez, whichever one you choose.
So call me
Brez,
anything.
yeah, Brez is my main character, and so that's like who I mainly did things on starting out. So that's why I go by Brez sometimes. But yeah, whatever works for me.
Okay, will do, will do. So your type of what attracted me to your content first of all was your unique approach to gold making. Like most gold makers, when they get started, they're like jump onto transmog, material farming, that type of stuff. But with you, you make your gold a lot with professions in specific, and you kind of have this unique style where you actually have turned the leaf and said, "Hey, Dragonflight professions aren't actually terrible. You can make a lot of gold with them, and here's how." So, can you potentially tell us a little bit about how you got started with focusing in on professions for gold making specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing professions for a long time. So I mean, I've been playing WoW since Burning Crusade, off and on, not straight by any means, but since Burning Crusade, and so I think kind of the easiest method for me, way back in the day to make gold was doing professions. And so that's just kind of what I stuck with and what I knew. Obviously, coming into Dragonflight, the profession game was changed drastically, and I think a lot of people kind of have an assumption that professions are just pointless in Dragonflight, and I didn't think that was true. Like I was convinced that there was a way to make gold, and so it took me several months, like especially when Dragonflight first launched. There, like probably the first month of Dragonflight, I was just like, I'm not even like screw professions. I'm not going to even try this. It's too confusing. I don't understand. Whatever. But then I eventually just kind of like buckled down and was like, there's got to be something to this. Like people are selling stuff on the auction house. People are not selling stuff constantly at a loss. So to me, I was like, people are selling stuff. That means it's profitable in some way. I just need to figure out how. And then it just took a lot of like digging in and diving into things, and obviously like add-ons tools like CraftSim certainly make figuring out what you can do quite a bit easier. So that's helped out a lot as well.
So, what is it that really like drew you towards like crafted professions over like typical farming strategies? Like generally, what really drew you towards those kind of crafted professions over the typical strategies to make gold?
Yeah, so I think the main thing for me, and why I enjoy crafting professions so much, is there's a bit of a game to it. Like farming, like going out and mining and herbing, is a method to make gold, right? Like everybody should try that out. It is a method to make gold, but um, it's very easy, right? It's super straightforward, and For me, it's not so much about like gold per hour, how much I'm making gold per hour. It's like what I'm enjoying doing. And the game aspect of professions and figuring out what is worth crafting. And I have this whole theory that I talk about, which is like crafting the crafting professions or crafting the crafting materials you need to craft. And that's kind of like what the game aspect of it is to me within professions specifically is finding what professions craft different crafting materials for other professions, figuring out cheaper sources of those materials. I don't know. To be honest, I kind of feel like I'm like a small business owner here in the United States when I'm doing my profession stuff, and I think that's what attracts me to it as well. And I think the last thing is crafting is easy, but like if you're going out farming, you've got to be like really locked in, or not locked in, but dialed in, paying attention to the ore herb nodes that you're going for, like watching the map the entire time. And that's not usually my play style. Like I like to have stuff that I'm watching, whatever it may be, other streamers, so I can just like start a craft and then watch a stream or something like that, which I really enjoy being able to do as well.
Yeah, I totally remember at the start of the Dragonflight expansion when it was all about farming herbs and ore, and I remember just making the really like terrible mistake at the start of just trying to go for every like ore and every herb and just having no like vigor on my dragon. It
Yeah.
was a nightmare. So I had to like pick and choose, and like
Hmm.
I didn't realize for ages, but like that focus of having to like literally look at the minimap constantly just to choose the right one to go for actually wasted quite a lot of my time without
Yeah.
even realizing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the strategy now if you're going to do gathering is like only going for elemental nodes. And so like Blizzard does help because now like you can easily distinguish elemental nodes from non on the map, but it's like here's something that you're having to look at the entire time. So yeah, it's just takes a little bit more of your brain power to do, I think.
Yeah, and I totally agree with what you were saying about how gold makers like to make gold, like actually want to enjoy what they're doing. It's not just about getting the gold; it's also about doing something you enjoy in the game. I
Yeah,
totally agree.
I do think that there are a handful of people that are in it just for the gold. Doesn't matter what the method is
Hmm.
that you're going about acquiring it. But I think for true goblins, the fun is acquiring the gold. So it's not as much how much of it you're getting per hour, but how you're getting it.
Okay, so what is your favorite profession in World of Warcraft, my friend?
Mm, that's a tough question. So the first profession that immediately comes to top of head is inscription. Um, I think it's worth giving context that I exclusively do commodities within Dragonflight professions. So I don't do like profession equipment crafting. I don't do gear crafting for like people that are into PvP, PvE, whatever it is. It's just commodities, so gems, missives, contracts. So the reason I like Inscription the most is because Inscription has a metric shit ton of different commodities that it has to offer. And so Inscription would be my top just because of the range of recipes you can work with. Another runner up is probably cooking. Cooking's been pretty awesome, and it's very
Oh,
easy to
oh
get into.
wow! I've not experimented with cooking at all in the Dragonflight. To be fair.
Oh yeah, I've made hundreds of thousands of gold with cooking in Dragonflight. Like you can make a lot of money with cooking. Maybe not. I mean, we're at the season 4 at the final stretch of Dragonflight, so might be worth looking into going into War Within. But I think cooking is going to continue to be a great money maker.
Okay, so you like Inscription. That's your favorite. You explain why. Give
Yes.
us a snapshot or a time where you made just an absolute boatload of gold and it was kind of like your biggest success for gold making up to now. Do you have a memory in mind?
Yeah, actually, it's my biggest successes within gold making have just been within the past 5 or 6 months. Previously, you know, prior to December of this past year, I was super into gold making, but I would also just spend my gold on all kinds of crazy stuff. Um, so I never really like had much gold, I think is the best way to say it. But since like mid-December, I started out, I had like 30,000 gold on my Druid Brez. And it was a combination of inscription and jewel crafting, but probably primarily inscription profits. And I made probably like 6 million gold in like 2 months, from December to mid-February. Um, so
Juicy.
that felt great. Yeah, it was juicy. It was wonderful. That felt amazing. Um, Things have slowed down a little bit, so it's a little bit tougher to make that kind of gold. But yeah, inscription in just a matter of a couple months made several million gold. So that was awesome.
That's sick. That's so good. For me,
Yeah.
it was when Dracothists released. I had
Uh,
like 50 characters set up with Dracothist, and I just hammered it every day. It was so
there you
good.
go. Yeah, Drake. This has been wonderful. I wish I would have gotten more into that realm of things, but um, there's always war within, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a really cool creator called Drizzling Rose, and she put me onto it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to get onto this quickly because I
Yeah,
know it's gonna go down really fast.
yeah, for sure, for
So
sure,
let's talk some tips. Let's talk some advice. What would
sure.
you advise someone brand new to World of Warcraft gold making? They're watching this video right now. They have perhaps 10,000 gold in their bags, and they just want to get started making some gold. How do you think they should do it?
Yeah, I would say start off with cooking, just because cooking takes virtually zero gold investment to get into. The most gold you're going to spend is probably on your profession tools. Um, I think cooking's a great start, but I think more generally, for anybody kind of just getting started into things, you probably should, for the most part, be kind of setting your sights on how you're going to maximize the war within. And so I would start kind of, dabbling into dragonflight professions, getting an idea of what the different dragonflight professions are, the different crafts, because they're going to be very similar in the war within. But I think more importantly, by doing so, is learning how the new profession system works. Whether you're just starting to play WoW, you've never played WoW before, or maybe you came back to WoW and you haven't played in 5 years, the profession system is going to be kind of your biggest hurdle to get over in terms of gold making if you're wanting to go profession route. So just learn how the professions work, get an idea for why the rank 3 materials are cheaper than the rank 1 and rank 2 materials on the auction house. Because I think generally something like that people see and they're like, that doesn't make sense. But um, if you've been doing professions long enough, then you'll start to understand why certain like rank 3 higher rank materials are cheaper than the lower ranks. And just you'll get that foundation so that once War Within launches, you'll be right out the gate ready to go and start cranking out money.
Okay, okay. So, what would you say then to that same person? What are some common mistakes you often see in goal makers, and what would you potentially warn them to avoid?
Um, so I think the most common mistakes I see is, honestly, it I think it's really, it's just like, mindset, and just assuming what other people have said is true. There's a pretty large consensus the Dragonflight professions are shit. You can't make money with them, whatever it may be, and it's not true. I mean, it's just not true. And I think the biggest mistake is just people haven't put the time in to gain the knowledge in order to figure out how the professions work. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's just um, you have to try it. Learn for yourself. Don't take somebody else's word saying that like, oh, the professions suck. Don't do them. Like, do them yourself and figure it out for yourself. Maybe they're not for you, but maybe they are. And then what was the second part of the question? Things to avoid.
Yeah, like what would you warn them against?
I would warn against going too heavy into one particular craft. So, like in the commodity market in particular, everything that you're selling for the most part is going to be on a region-wide auction house. So, just as clarification, since we're talking to a new gold maker in this context, the region-wide auction houses, everybody, and so if you're on NA servers, everybody on NA servers will have access to those commodities that you're selling. Um, so my biggest thing would be don't craft like 3,000 of a particular item unless you're going to be able to sell through that 3,000 of that particular item before you log out. If you do crafting and you're setting yourself up to have an item that you're going to be selling through over the course of the next week, there's a very, very high likelihood the price of that item when you crafted it is not going to be the same price by the end of that week. And I think in most cases, probably the price will have come down. And so my biggest general rule of thumb and something that I do on a daily basis is I will not craft more of an item that I know I can sell in that day. So that would be my biggest thing to avoid. Otherwise, you're just kind of setting yourself up for losses on the gold end of things.
Oh wow, okay. I think bouncing off what you were just saying there about everyone saying Dragonflight professions is terrible, things like that. I do have to agree with you 100% on that. I think we got too used to the way TSM worked with professions. TSM says it's profitable, so it must be profitable. TSM says it's not profitable, so it's not profitable. And
Mm-hmm.
then obviously came along Craft Sim. If anyone doesn't know about Craft Sim, it's a great add-on. And we got spoilt again with learning actually what is profitable once again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of gold makers probably look at TSM in Dragonflight and see most items aren't profitable and just assume that that is true. But I mean, the biggest reason for that is TSM can't consider multi-craft, resourcefulness, those tertiary stats, and so um, 9 times out of 10, TSM is going to tell you stuff isn't profitable. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. People got spoiled with that and leaned too heavily on the add-on, just telling them what's profitable and what's not, as opposed to kind of digging in for themselves and maybe doing some math on your own to figure it out.
Yeah, Blizzard said no more to TSM, and then Craftsym came along and went, "What did you say?"
That's true. Yeah, that is very true. CraftSim has been a lifesaver in that regard. Although, it's important. CraftSim, certainly helps. I mean, tremendously helps. But CraftSim isn't always like super accurate, like with things like unraveling, milling, that kind of thing. And then also, CraftSim doesn't consider, like is the my theory I talked about earlier of crafting the crafting materials you need to craft. Craftsum doesn't always take like those values into account. So I think there's still a level of you need to do some of the math yourself and double check what Craftsum's telling you. And if you are doing a process of like crafting the crafting materials you need to craft, it's likely more profitable for that end result craft than what Craftsum's telling you.
Yeah, massively. If you're getting like a 5 gold like profit per item at first, and then another like 2 or 3 gold, and then another like 6 gold, get a
Yeah,
massive like overarching profit as you craft through the entire list of ingredients. So I totally agree
exactly.
with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you seem like you seem pretty sharp, mate. You're on top of things with gold making. How do you stay up to date with the latest kind of like gold making strategies and things like that?
um, that's an interesting question. I think honestly, I think I did a pretty bad job at this for a long time, and I don't think it's really until I started making videos on YouTube and streaming that I realized that there were like metas for gold making. Like for example, one thing I've literally never done before I started streaming was any sort of like events. So like I never did Love is in the Air events for any of like those. Um, recently there was an event for like Hearthstone, like a Hearthstone toy in game. Like I never did any of these things ever. And then when I started streaming, like I'd have people in chat being like, "Yo, like why aren't you doing this?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't do those things." And so it was just like people telling me from the stream, and that's kind of how I've been staying on top of some of these different opportunities, and it's actually paid off. Like the Love is in the Air event, for example, I was able to stock up on some stuff during that to turn a profit in the Hearthstone toys. I can't remember what those are called, but from a month or two ago, like I had people in stream let me know that that was a thing and that I should do it, and so I did it, and um, just some additional profit from that. But outside of like the stream and whatnot, I pretty much just kind of stay in my lane with professions, and um, I guess the other, like the last part would be is also just like watching. I watch a lot of different content creators nowadays, and um, I've gotten some good ideas on you know, different things to do for profit from those. But I also just love to talk about gold making. Like I don't know why. Like this is the one thing that I am just always down to talk about. And so um, anytime I see somebody else that's interested in gold making, I'm asking them like, tell me what you do. I want to know. I want to learn more. What's the stuff you craft? What's the stuff you farm? Like tell me all about it. So yeah, I think that's how I stay on top of things now, but I'm probably not the best at it.
Yeah, you found what you're passionate about, and so when you meet other people who have the same passions, you just kind of like get a bit giddy and you just start just talking away at it. I'm
Yeah.
totally with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
absolutely.
I think I had the same people in my chat talking about those, Hearthstone decks and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I had the exact same people
Yeah.
because that's the thing about gold making, right? Is the community is very tight knit. There's lots of people who kind of hang out in the same spaces, and that's what I really like about kind of the gold making World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The community is definitely super tight knit. People that come in my chat, I see them in every other gold maker chat that I watch. So it's nice to see that. And they're all super supportive and cool. So it's a nice like uplifting community.
Yeah, there's not a lot of toxicity in this
No.
community at all. Like
No.
none. If you go in Mythic Plus, that's a different kettle of fish right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've obviously mentioned professions in Dragonflight quite a bit. Um, we had a huge change with these professions in this expansion versus every other expansion.
Mhm.
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the current state of professions in World of Warcraft Dragonflight.
Um, this is a tough question. I've been talking about this a good amount on stream here recently. Um, so overall, I think that the professions are fantastic. Just as a base standing, I suppose. Are there some issues in some areas? Sure. So like one thing that I can say for sure that is like not the most user friendly is the fact that like you can't reset knowledge points, especially like at the start of an expansion. There should be some sort of opportunity because people are learning professions, and especially in an early expansion, there's a lot of consequence if you don't put your knowledge points in the right spot. You're just kind of screwed. So that definitely sucks. I never really had an issue. Obviously, there was a lot of problem around the inspiration system, prompting Blizzard to kind of change how it's going to work. I do think that the new system that they're going to be using to replace inspiration seems promising. Um, but I think overall, the profession system has so much more depth to it now, and that's like I kind of said earlier that it kind of feels like a game to me, and I think that the depth that Blizzard added to professions is mostly responsible for why it feels like a game to me now. Um, just because like different rank materials, different rank like kind of end products, all of that is super important. And then having different rank materials of the same type of item that you can list on the auction house, there's just so much more depth to it. And I think that's the main thing that I just love about this system. It's just the depth. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Previously, it was just very black and white. Like you mentioned, you could just go into TSM. If it said it was profitable, then it was profitable. You didn't have multi-craft stats you had to worry about. You didn't have resourcefulness you had to worry about. You would just look and see, okay, is this item, is the cost to craft this less than the cost it is to sell it? Yes. Okay, boom, craft. Very easy. Anybody can do it. And I just think that Blizzard, by creating this profession system, is catering to people that exclusively do gold making, or mostly do gold making in the game as a source of entertainment.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I personally wasted a boatload of gold at the start of Dragonflight trying to get into Sophic Devotions
Yeah.
enchants, and it must have been 700k easily. Maybe it might have been a million, to be fair. I got into it. I put a few talent points wrong, and massively regretted it because I could have gone a different direction and actually tried to get some gold back. But it was too difficult, too early. So if I could go back and change that, I really would,
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah.
If there was
So
like one thing that you could say, Blizzard, you have to change this about the Dragonflight profession system, what would that one thing be?
um hmm, I would say, I don't know. I'm honestly, like, I'm super happy with the profession system as it is. I think that there were some interesting choices made just in terms of like, it just does it seems like every develop like there was like 8 developers, however many crafting professions there were, and each developer was in charge of each separate profession, and they were given guidelines, like, like, we have these different things, multi-craft, resourcefulness, but how you create the profession is up to you. The reason I say this is because, like, enchanting is a great one. Enchanting is, like, it's super difficult to get to, like, the final point where you can craft those, like, top end crafting and or enchants, which just doesn't align with, like, inscription. You can get to a point where you're some of the recipes in there, you're crafting and having profit, within, like, the matter of maybe one reset, 2 resets, whereas enchanting is going to take you far more time and time investment, knowledge point investment to get to a point of profitability. So I think that there could have just been some balancing in that regard, ensuring that all the professions kind of line up. Like, commodity should all kind of be unlocked. Like, the highest point of commodity crafting should all kind of be unlocked with the same amount of, or similar amount of knowledge point investment, versus, like, gear crafting should all kind of get unlocked with a similar amount of knowledge point investment. So just the discrepancies between some of the professions, I think, is kind of a barrier of entry, can be confusing for some people.
Yeah, I
But
totally agree with that.
I think that's kind of a minor thing. I think another important one would be, is, like, once War Within launches, Blizzard should just get rid of Dragonflight knowledge points, or make a catch up mechanic that actually exists for people that want to go for all the Dragonflight professions, or the recipes, that kind of thing. But otherwise, like, I'm pretty happy with the professions and how they work so far.
Yeah, I really didn't like how in order to get like the top quality craft for like Sophic Devotion, I had to like max out Sophic Devotion, but then I also had to max out a different like whole other tree of enchanting that had nothing to do with that specific area. It was just like it was wild to me that they even came up with this idea to do that. It's
Yeah.
like why waste all that time and energy investing into that one particular tree for you to then find out, oh, I have to go into a different area altogether to max it out.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a good point. And I think one last thing I would say is, I still think Blizzard should implement some sort of way to reset your knowledge points. Maybe if you unlearn the profession, it resets your knowledge points or something like that. So, like, you're kind of having to start from square one in terms of learning a new profession, doing the initial leveling up with skill. But the ability to not reset knowledge points at least once on a character or something like that is really kind of lame too, I think.
I was gonna say that as well. I was gonna say the exact same thing, except for I was gonna say like Make us pay for it, dude. Like
Or
the
that, yeah.
original World of Warcraft, we had to pay like loads of gold to respec our characters. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not saying that was the best thing, but for professions, we're paying like to make money basically. So we'll happily pay like, I don't know, 1,000 gold to get our knowledge points all back and reset it completely. Happily,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
for sure.
Yeah, spend a bit more time with that profession master teaching us the ways.
Yeah, there we go. That's awesome.
Okay, so thank you so much for all the information so far about gold making. Now, if it's okay with you, Sammy, I'd love to get to know you personally. Is that all
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
absolutely.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself outside of World of Warcraft? What are your hobbies? What are some of your interests? That type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So outside of WoW, well, I love playing basketball in my office, as you can see.
I can tell.
I'm a big hockey fan too. I don't play hockey anymore, but grew up playing hockey, so huge hockey fan. Um, I mean, outside of that, like I play some other games as some hobbies, but otherwise, I'm kind of a homebody. I got a dog. His name's Kai. I've got a wife. She's pregnant. We're moving
Congratulations.
soon. Thank you. Yeah. So we got a lot going on right now, but life's good. So we're just chugging away.
That's amazing, dude. I'm so happy for you. What
Thank you.
breed of dog do you have?
He's a Samoyed.
Samoyed.
So he's like a big white fluff. Um, his breed is actually like his breed is from Siberia, I think. They're a sled pulling dog, similar to huskies in terms of like how fluffy they are. Just picture like Snow White all across the board. So he's awesome, but he's kind of a shit. But what dogs
Yeah.
aren't, I guess. So
Yeah, like that's the beauty. I've got two dogs myself. I've got a terrier and I've got a Labrador, and I love them with all my heart. But they are little shits. Like
yeah,
that's what it is having a dog. You love them, but it is what it is.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so with your YouTube channel, what inspired you to start YouTube, and what inspired you to start sharing your goal making strategies on YouTube?
So I've been into YouTube for a long, long time. I've had many YouTube channels. I had a channel, and it's funny. I pulled it up on stream like a week or two ago, and watched one of my old videos. But back in Cataclysm, I was making gold making videos. I posted a guide, alchemy gold making patch 4.3 gold making guide. So like that just kind of like I guess points to the fact that I've always enjoyed making YouTube videos and making guides. The work I do is, kind of like in the realm of training people. So I think it's just like, helping people and sharing my knowledge, I think is just like kind of one of my passions. So always been making content, not only gold making content, I've made other random types of content on YouTube. And then most recently, I don't know. It's like I feel like making YouTube videos for me is like an itch that every once in a while just needs to be scratched. And so this most recent time, I think it was like February, and I was like, well, I got everything. Like, why not? Just who cares at this point? Who cares? Because back in the day, I would try way too hard to be like as professional as I can in my videos, and like I was like, oh, I want to do this, but now I'm just in it for the fun, and so yeah, I guess that's why, like I said, itch that I had to scratch back in February to start up this newest venture of gold making videos and streaming.
I'm glad you did, dude. It's got to be said that you are a breath of fresh air in the World of Warcraft goal making scene. You kind of dispelled that whole Dragonflight professions aren't any good, and you just came in. You went, hey, yeah, they are, and this is how. And that's
Yeah,
what I absolutely loved about your channel straight away.
thank
Is
you.
like just that unique aspect to it. You weren't just a kind of a repeat of what other people did. You just um, you created is what I really liked.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that, man. And that's kind of what I felt too. Like I felt like there was one creator, Penguin, um,
Yeah.
and she hasn't made content in a while, but she was one that I watched a lot for profession stuff. But outside of her, there I don't know of actually any other people that are kind of like centered around professions specifically with gold making. So I definitely noticed kind of a drought of content around there, and I was obviously making gold with it. So I'm sure that contributed into my decision of making content to show people like, you can definitely make gold with professions.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, so I popped by your Twitch stream the other day, and I'll be honest, I like watching you on Twitch pretty much all the time. Whenever I got spare time, I stop by and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as you experienced, I had a lot of your channel points saved up. Uh, what are your ways that you like to engage with your community best? And do you have any funny stories about times you've been hanging out with your viewers and things like that, and anything funny that's happened?
Yeah. So probably what my favorite way of engaging with the chatters is you can redeem channel points and I'll have to shoot hoops. I'm always trying to think of new ways to incorporate the Papa Shot behind me. So one of them is just have to make 10 baskets, but I'm also looking to do trick shots as well. Maybe incorporate that. But then I have a bunch of, or not a bunch, but I have some random sound bites. And yeah, I actually have a perfect story just in regards to funny. Um, when I got these sound bites originally set up, I like there's a lot of programs that go into streaming. Let me tell you, there's like 17 different programs that you could have up on running on your computer to have your stream operating. And like this is all new to me. And so the system that I set up for my sound alerts, I didn't do it well. And these sound alerts were coming through unbelievably loud, and they were like every single time they played, I would like literally jump because they scared the shit out of me. And people were taking clips of them, and I didn't have any cooldowns on the sound alerts, and so people just kept on redeeming them, and I was just like kept on jumping, like, oh god, like every single time. And people were clipping them, and then I would pull up the clip to watch, and then I would get scared hearing the sound alert on the clip I'm watching, and so it was just like a chain reaction of me getting scared. And I think that's just kind of become one of the things is I'm very jumpy, easily scared, I guess, and so um it's kind of become a fun thing on the stream, just people redeeming random channel alerts and scaring me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. I was at your channel the other day, and I started redeeming your throwing basketballs in the hoops behind you,
Mm.
and it created a type of domino effect where
Oh
everyone in
yeah.
the chat kept to obviously redeeming it, and it just kept you up there throwing basketballs for like ages. It
Yeah,
was
I
amazing.
that stream I had to make 140 baskets. So and I obviously am not like one shot equals one basket. So I probably took like
Yeah.
200 shots that day.
Dude, I gotta be honest,
Crazy.
like, your chat was savage. You were so savage. They were waiting for you to sit down, put your headphones on, get just nice and comfortable before redeeming the
Yeah.
next one, so you had to go again.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Don't you just love chat?
Fucked up. Yeah, no, it's I mean, what's fun is like the fact that people can do that, right? Is like that you can wait to redeem it until I sit down just for like that extra little like troll factor. It just gets a little personal too. And I'll react and I'll be like, God damn it, like, I'll like say the person's name, like why couldn't you just redeem that while I was still standing up there? Because that's exactly what everybody just wants to troll, and that's what's fun about it. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah, exactly. It's the reaction to the trolling is what really makes it,
Yeah, for sure.
you know.
For
Definitely.
sure.
Definitely. It's satisfying. It's definitely a really fun stream to watch, and you're an incredibly talented streamer. Um
Thank you.
Do you do many collaborations with other creators?
I've I think this is like my first collaboration, to be totally honest. Obviously, I'm working with the Gaming Hero folks, and looking forward to continuing to do that. But outside of that, I mean,
Mhm.
no, there hasn't been a whole lot of collaborating, but I would love to do some.
Awesome. Yeah, I do definitely think there's like room in gold making specifically for more creators to like work together to make content rather than everyone being their own like news stand and everyone shouting out into the
Yeah,
void to be seen. It'd be cool if we came together a bit more. That's kind of why I started Gaming Hero, for that kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, there. And you are writing a or have written a guide for Gaming Hero to do with inscription. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So I've started writing the guide, which is kind of like a profession uh, basics. So it would be applied to, or it could be applied to really any profession. And then I have like specifics about inscription. Again, just like the commodity side of inscription, but just like the different crafts you can do, how to get into them, and some tips and tricks for doing those particular crafts. And I plan on expanding to as many professions as I can, and getting that information available. So stay tuned for that.
Amazing. Well, as long as you're up for sharing them, we'll happily have them on Gaming Hero. Having read
Absolutely.
your guide already is absolutely incredible. I personally never got into inscription, so it's really blown my mind, and looking forward to sharing it with the community. I'll make sure it is available at the same time this video goes out. Check out gaminghero.io to see SemiCollin's inscription guide. Um, let's go to back to YouTube just for kind of a quick minute.
Sure.
What would you say was your most challenging thing about growing on YouTube?
So YouTube is a, oh my gosh. I mean, everything I feel like is challenging about growing on YouTube. Um, Especially as a small creator, like a lot of the creators that you see nowadays online, and I don't mean like, gold making, I just mean in general, they have like teams behind them of people that are like, figuring out the best tags to put, or figuring out the best thumbnail that's going to generate clicks, titles, that kind of thing. And as like a small creator, you just don't have any access to that, and so you're just kind of at the whim of your own creativity, which is totally fine. But it's just kind of a barrier of entry, and I think can really impact your growth on YouTube. Like it or not, I think uh, if you have a shit thumbnail, people probably aren't going to watch your video. And I might have those. I know, I'm not claiming to be the best, but I think that's the biggest challenge is just being able to know what's going to attract people to come view your content, and then also having content, offering content that's entertaining or valuable to people is also a challenge.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the thing with your content is it's highly valuable. It's just getting people there to begin
Mhm.
with. So like your thumbnails seem really good by the looks of it. They aren't too clickbaity. They don't promise the world, but they get across the message really clearly. And obviously, once you get the bums on the seats watching the screen, they can see the value for themselves. And I'm sure that's why you've had your initial success on YouTube. To be honest.
Yeah, I think so. I do say I do think also that I owe a lot to the gold making community. There have been several people, or I mean most. I think everybody, really, creator wise in the gold making community, has been super nice in terms of, like shouting out my channels, rating me on Twitch, which has certainly helped the YouTube side. So, um, I think I also owe a lot, just again, to the creators within the gold making community that have helped kind of propel that.
Yeah, totally. And that's part of the reason I wanted to do this collaboration specifically with you was just because I recognize high quality content and I really want to share it with my audience in that regard. So that's
Yeah.
exactly what attracted me to want to do this kind of interview with you first. Um, so, what would you say your most rewarding experience has been on YouTube so far?
Um, Honestly, whenever I get a comment from somebody saying that some piece of advice I gave them has helped out. I've had several people reach out and let me know that like they started cooking just to kind of get into professions because like I routinely say, cooking's a very easy one to get started in, and people have reached out saying like, "Oh, I've made 100K from cooking so far," and so that's really rewarding. Like, my advice to somebody has directly impacted their ability to make gold, and they've come back and let me know. And that's kind of what I'm in it for. That's what it's all about for me, at least. So, just getting that feedback from people letting me know that again that some of my advice is working for them is the most rewarding, biggest payoff.
Yeah, massively agree with that. Is no better feeling than just getting a really heartwarming comment on YouTube. It just
Yeah,
makes you want to make content that much more, doesn't it?
yeah. Except for those guys that are like, you could just go work at 7-Eleven and buy a token. I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of those comments on YouTube, but I welcome them. Any comments are good.
Yeah,
Take them
I
on.
I do I do kind of see. I agree. There's no other way to say it. You're on YouTube, you're on Twitch, you often get it. I could be millionaire by now on World of Warcraft by just working a full time job. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, but that's not why we do gold making.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
That's awesome.
let's theory craft for a minute.
Sure.
What kind of theory craft, I guess? If you could design your own profession in World of Warcraft, what would it be and why? Now I know that's a hard question, so because there is already lots of professions.
Um, I think mount customization. I think that would
Ooh,
be really cool. Right? It's like something like, all the professions have most things covered in the game. But it'd be cool if like you had a crafting profession that could customize like mounts. Like if your mount had different like slots that you could put different cosmetic things into. That could be crafted. Like we've seen that crafters in the past have been able to do the mount equipment, so kind of in that same realm, but like let's not just limit it to like movement within your mount. Like why can't we add some crafting professions that customize how your mount looks and maybe adds different like bling to your mount or whatever it may be. Um, I think that could be pretty cool.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd absolutely love something like that for sure. For me, I would love woodworking. Personally, like the ability to chop trees and then turn it into things like furniture
Oh,
or whatever.
yeah, that would
I
be
think that'd be
neat.
cool.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
super cool. That would be
yeah.
fun.
I definitely love something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity, right? Like, it would just require Blizzard to kind of add more customization within the game, and I think if they did, that would open up a lot of opportunity for new professions, not only mounts, but like you said, woodworking. Um, I mean, shoot, all kinds of different stuff. I'm sure you could come up with if you added more customization options within the game.
Player housing.
Yeah, exactly. You could add like somebody's
We're all
a
praying for it.
contractor as their profession, like builds houses.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
So tell me one thing about you that might surprise your audience.
Um,
That's a hard one. Sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. I have no use for all the gold I make. I don't care about it.
I bet that's like most gold makers.
Probably. Yeah, probably. But for me, it's like I recently hit gold cap and like I'm just like kind of like giving the gold away at this point. Like I hit gold cap, that was my goal. I'm happy now. So like I'm not too worried about hitting that again. I'm sure I will. I'm sure I'll surpass it at some point. But It simply is just the act of making gold that I enjoy. Not so much having the gold and being super rich in game. So, um, yeah, I feel like most gold makers, like, like most goblins can relate, but I feel like probably it's not a similar story for most players. When WoW, I feel like most people probably want as much gold as they can have.
Definitely, definitely agree with that. I
Yeah,
I know. Oftentimes, I'll just have the gold sat in my bags for months at a time, doing nothing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
If anything, I just hold on to the gold to buy the next game. Like
yeah, yeah. As
that's
long
it.
as I mean, that's the most important thing. As long as you're paying for your expansions or subscription, then what else?
Yeah.
Maybe boosts. I don't know.
I know some people who make gold in World of Warcraft so they can spend it on cards in Hearthstone. That's one
That's
thing that
true.
people do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's a. I mean, if I played Hearthstone, I'm sure I would do the same. Or if I played a different Activision Blizzard game that had um, some sort of cosmetic that I could use Blizz Balance for, I would probably do the same. But I'm kind of a
Yeah.
loser. I only play WoW, and so I
You'd
just
have
don't.
so many cards in your deck on
Yeah,
Hearthstone if you did. Okay,
exactly.
so I'm gonna hit you with one final question, my friend.
Okay.
If you could give a younger SemiCollin advice before starting to play World of Warcraft and getting heavily invested into gold making World of Warcraft, what advice would you give that SemiCollin?
Well, I guess is that SemiCollin already playing WoW? Just
Yeah,
deciding if he wants to get into gold making.
yeah.
Okay. I would say just keep trying. So, especially with professions right now, it's so overwhelming, and um, it's way easier to just be like, screw it. Like, I'm not gonna bother with this. I'll just go farm professions or like herb or whatever. But I would just say, like, keep on, just stick with it. Keep on trying. Um, because that's the only way you're gonna learn current Dragonflight professions is if you just power through it. The hardest part about professions right now is just knowledge on how they work. That's the hardest part about gold making altogether is just knowledge. So just stick to it. Keep on trying. If you lose some gold, who cares? You're gonna learn the profession. You're gonna expand your knowledge more, and that's the advice I would give my younger SemiCollin self. Because if I had taken that advice, I'd be the richest man in WoW.
That's some powerful
I'm
closing
kidding. I'm
words
kidding.
there.
Yeah,
I'd be a
but I mean,
billionaire.
yeah, I'd probably be, I'd maybe have like two gold caps at this point. I'd be a little richer, I think. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's just you got to stick with it. Don't just because it's confusing or hard. Don't just toss it aside. It's a video game after all. Just like practice it, learn it, and after some time it'll start to become second nature to you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think that kind of hit the nail on the head. That's kind of my motto is just the hardest part is knowledge. So if you can conquer that knowledge part, I am always trying to spread the knowledge. You can watch any other gold maker on Twitch, YouTube. They're trying to spread the knowledge. I think that's what most gold makers are in it for is just spreading the knowledge. So take note of what people are doing, diversify. Don't put all eggs in just inscription. Put one egg in inscription, one egg in jewel crafting. Like, try every profession, diversify. That's really important to making a profit as well. I primarily do professions, but I also do some transmog stuff on the side. So you can dabble in all these markets, but just start on one thing. If it's professions, start on professions. Get to understand professions, and then you can start to branch out into other things like transmog or 2x4 farming, whatever you want to be. But I would just start on one thing, stay in that lane, and then eventually you can start to diversify.
Totally agree. I think that's a wonderful approach to it. Well, thank you so much, SemiCollin,
Of
for
course.
sharing your thoughts, opinions, and experiences with us. We really, really appreciate it. We appreciate you being involved in GamingHero.io. It's seriously just amazing. If you haven't seen SemiCollin before and you like the sound of him, check out his channel. His link is in the description. Please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for him. Smash the like button on this video. We really appreciate you watching it, and thank you, Semi, for being here. It really meant the world to me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thanks for watching. This is Erosium and SemiCollin out.
Peace.